Where is he, ma'am?
Do you know what he himself with? He said one of the statements, but I couldn't have.
Police are at the home of Heather and Robert Hoefer. Just minutes earlier, Heather had called 911, reporting her husband lying unresponsive on the floor.
And I fell asleep on the couch and I came in here and he was on the floor. He was
When cops first arrived at the scene, Heather claimed Robert had taken his own life. But as they started investigating the house, things started to look suspicious. Little did they realize they were about to discover a horrifying secret and a killer that was closer to home than anyone expected.
I think you do know. I think you know what happened, and
I did not do this. I did not see this happen. I'm not a bad person. I'm not.
It's the early morning of November 29th, 2020, when the dispatch center in Farmington, New Mexico receives a chilling 911 call. On the line is 46-year-old Heather Fernandez-Hoefer, a third-grade teacher.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I came into my room and my husband, I think he died. I think he's on the floor. I know he's on the floor. I think he's dead. Come on, honey, wake up. He's cold. He's cold.
Do you think he's beyond any help?
Yeah, I do. Come on, babe, wake up, babe.
My partner
Babe, wake up.
sending someone to assist you. Please let
Honey,
me
wake
leave
up.
everything
Wake
as
up.
you found it. I'm going to stay on the line with you until they get there, okay?
Heather sounds shaken, insisting her husband is beyond saving. When the dispatcher suggests attempting CPR, she refuses.
Babe, come on. Come on, babe, wake up.
You want, ma'am,
Yes.
if you want to try, I can give you CPR instructions.
No.
But if you think he's beyond any help,
Send somebody now, please.
ma'am,
Hurry.
has he been sick?
Well, he injured himself.
How did he injure himself?
He got mad. Babe, come on, babe, wake up, babe.
How did he injure himself?
He cut himself.
Just 10 minutes after the 911 call began, the first responders pull up to the scene. As they step out of their vehicles, they're immediately met by Heather, who's still on the call with the dispatcher.
Ma'am, did you see what happened?
2497.
I fell asleep on the couch and I came in here and he was on the floor.
Within minutes of arriving, police find themselves in the bedroom where Heather claims she discovered her husband's body. On the floor lies 49-year-old Robert Hoefer. Heather tells them she last saw him alive at around 3 o'clock that morning. An officer checks his pulse, but the skin is cold to the touch, confirming that Robert has been dead for some time.
And I came in just now. And I guess he'd gotten his razor out. I don't know what he did. I don't know. Do you know what he cut himself with? He said one of the steak knives, but I couldn't have.
Okay, let's not go reaching around. I just don't want you to get cut, ma'am, in case it's sitting around here.
Say again?
I don't want you reaching around just in case you get cut, okay?
During her call with the dispatcher, Heather initially told them that Robert had injured himself the previous night. But now her story shifts. She suggests he might have accidentally cut himself with a razor, or perhaps even overdosed on his medication. As officers go over the scene, they quickly instruct her to stop touching anything that could be potential evidence. Trying to piece together what happened, they press further, asking if Robert had ever shown signs that could have pointed to this in the past.
Was he suicidal? Not that I know of.
Was he laying here in bed and you moved him over off the ground?
And when I got up, no.
We're not sure. She said he cut himself earlier in the night. Had been in bed in here, and then she came over, pulled him off the bed, took his shirt off.
The entire time, Heather is visibly panicked, her voice raised and full of desperation. She insists over and over that his injuries aren't deep enough to have caused his death, clinging to that claim as if repeating it might make it true. But investigators already know that's far from reality. Pressing further, they shift the conversation to another crucial detail: the medications he had been taking in the days leading up to his death.
What medication does he take, ma'am? Or this is medication up here?
Was he said that he was cutting because it hurt, or he said it hurt because he cut it?
It's okay. Take your time.
I don't know. Okay.
That's fine, I'm calling him back.
He was on the floor.
Heather explains to the officers that the night before, she and Robert had spent some time together in the house, but in separate rooms. Robert, she says, was in his room playing video games, while she was in the kitchen preparing a pie to eat. Later, they each went to bed separately. She insists that at some point, while she wasn't watching, Robert must have accidentally cut himself with one of the kitchen knives. Hearing this, the officers ask her to take them to the kitchen and show them the knives.
These are the
Okay, we'll check them. We'll take a look at them.
I didn't see any of them gone.
I don't see any of them missing.
All the kitchen knives are accounted for, in their designated spots. With that confirmed, the officers head back to the bedroom, the very room where Heather insists the knives had been when Robert allegedly stabbed himself. Moving methodically, they sweep the area with a blue forensic light, scanning the desk, the closet doors, and every nearby surface for even the faintest trace of blood that could support or contradict her story.
Does he keep his knives in any drawers or anything like that, ma'am?
No.
And do you know if it was in here where he ended up possibly hurting himself, or what had happened exactly, Heather?
Yeah. Well, we were going to bed, and he was like, "It hurts. It hurts." And I put him in bed, and
Heather insists that when Robert first went to bed, she saw no injuries, no cuts, no scratches, nothing unusual. But not long after, he told her he was feeling some pain, and that's when she noticed blood trickling from his chest. Concern quickly turned to scrutiny as officers, now suspicious, began inspecting Heather's clothing, searching for any trace of blood droplets that might connect her to his injuries.
What the? Did this happen whenever you were moving him on your shirt? You have some blood. I'm sure it happened when I moved him. And they're gonna probably collect your shirt, take pictures of you and your hands. Just because I didn't do anything.
It's okay. It's just procedure.
I didn't do anything.
Throughout the entire conversation, Heather remains open and willing to speak with police. She answers their questions without hesitation. But as the interview progresses, investigators begin to pick up on subtle inconsistencies in her account. Details shift, timelines blur, and certain parts of her story simply don't align.
You guys can get some information from her,
Okay.
and then both of you guys can step out.
Yep. Okay, see?
Heather, do you know where the knife is that he had or
He
had
said it was
used?
one of the steak knives, but I didn't see it. That's the thing, because I didn't see it. These are the steak.
Okay, we'll check them. We'll take a look at them.
The officers move methodically through Robert's room, then the rest of the house, opening drawers, checking shelves, scanning every corner for a clue, any hint that he might have wanted to take his own life. But nothing. No note, no message, no sign. With the initial sweep complete, Heather takes a seat at the kitchen table. The officers join her, their notepads ready, and begin asking a new round of questions.
And then he went to bed about 11 or midnight. That's about as far as you and I got earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what happened after that?
And then he said, that's when he was like, "It hurts, it hurts." I was like, "What are you talking about? It hurts." I really didn't think it was that bad. It's the steak. You really can't. I didn't. They're not even like.
Sure.
Heather claims that the night before had been filled with heavy drinking, leaving her memory of the events hazy. She says that when Robert allegedly cut himself, she didn't take him to the hospital or call for help. Instead, she tended to his injury herself, cleaned up the blood, and then chose to sleep on the sofa, leaving him alone.
Then you went back to sleep on the sofa again?
On the sofa. Yeah, because he peed. Sorry.
He peed in the bed.
Yes.
Is that normal for him?
No.
No.
I was mad. Sorry, bad words. Truth comes out. In bed.
Heather then claims that Robert had mixed alcohol with his medication, a combination she suggests might have played a role in his death.
Does he drink? Yeah.
How much alcohol do you think you had last night?
You had a little bit of.
Beer, hard liquor, wine, beer, hard liquor. What kind and how much can you guess?
Gin.
Gin.
Officers are determined to uncover every detail, and their next step is to search the entire house. But before they can begin, they must follow proper procedure, either by obtaining a formal search warrant from a judge or by securing her direct consent to search the residence.
We need to find certain items related to his death.
Right.
He obviously has some wounds to his chest that you explained were probably from a knife.
Right.
So we need you to understand that we would like to search your residence for the items related to his death. Specifically, what caused the wounds to his chest.
Okay.
And anything else related. Would you give us consent to search your residence?
This doesn't appear to be a typical death, and officers must look into every possible angle. After a brief pause, Heather agrees to let them search the residence. But the moment they step inside and begin their search, subtle details start to raise red flags. It becomes clear that things aren't as straightforward as they first appeared.
Going through the game room, it's just a bunch of electronics.
Oh, you already go through it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing. There's no blood, no knives, no food, no. I don't think there's any more reasons that.
So that's what's going to be odd is like she confirmed that they don't leave cutlery in any of the rooms. So at some point, somebody took a knife to that room and returned it.
The technicians carefully review every piece of evidence they've gathered so far, laying it all out on the table. But no matter how they arrange the facts, the narrative still doesn't make sense. Crucial details are missing, and the story just doesn't add up.
That's when she says she sees the blood, and she goes, "Oh, what happened?" And then he says he makes a motion with his hand and says, "Steak." That's all he says. He doesn't say anything else. She doesn't ask him what. She goes, "What?" Takes his shirt off, cleans him up.
But it's funny.
Comes back out here and lays down.
Every time she's done the mimic of the steak, it's always in the direction.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not just.
But she's
like
seen
this.
him. She would have seen the wounds. She would have seen all the wounds. So her story doesn't make any sense that he stabbed himself back there.
She doesn't know where he stabbed himself.
Or if he even stabbed himself.
Heather claims that Robert's injury came from a steak knife, insisting that's what he accidentally cut himself with. For investigators, that immediately puts one objective at the top of the list: finding that exact knife. In the kitchen, they spot several steak knives.
It is 1512.
That's the starting comparison.
She says steak. We find this steak, but I don't know. I agree. What, do we take them all?
I went through it methodically, one at a time, and when I got to the steak knives, I started at the right. That's the first one that I
I
pulled.
say we'd be safe and we'll take them all.
Yeah.
Or not. Separate one, take the rest.
Okay.
For the moment, the investigation seems to be at a standstill. That's when officers decide to widen their scope and speak with others living under the same roof. Alongside Heather and Robert, the house is also home to Heather's adult son, his wife, and their young child. Detectives want to find out whether any of them might have seen or heard something.
Hi there. My name's Officer Joe at the Farmington Police Department. Just looking to speak with you at all. Do you know what's going on right now?
No, I just woke up.
Just woke up?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Robert's passed away. We don't know. She woke up and found him, and he's deceased at this point. Have you heard anything tonight or seen anything tonight? No.
It's been really quiet. I kind of heard her crying, but I fell asleep.
Okay. And that's all you know at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
She insists that she hadn't heard anything unusual that night. No strange noises, no arguments, nothing to suggest that anything was wrong. When the officer finishes with her, he turns his attention to Heather's son. He begins asking the boy if Robert had ever suffered from any medical conditions or health problems that could explain what had happened.
I know he had bad lungs, he had ulcerative colitis and autism.
And some other medical things that were going on.
I don't know, those are the top three that I knew of.
Yeah.
That were like,
And it seems
I
like,
watch out for all the time.
yeah.
As crime scene technicians meticulously search the house, detectives take Heather and her family to the station, where the questioning can continue. But before we dive deeper into the investigation, we need to understand the family's history. Heather Fernandez-Hoefer was known simply as a third-grade teacher in the Farmington municipal schools. She worked at McCormick Elementary, spending her weekdays surrounded by 8- and 9-year-olds. Her husband, Robert Sean Hoefer, eventually settled in Farmington, where he worked as a computer technician for the city's public library. However, at the time of the death, he had no job, and Heather was the sole provider for the family. Heather and Robert met in September of 2019. Just a year later, on September 5th, 2020, they were married at the Aztec VFW. From the outside, their life together seemed happy. On social media, there were smiling photos from their wedding and posts about the everyday moments of married life. But in private, things were not always as smooth as they seemed. Police would later uncover text messages between the two, revealing financial strain and tension over a previous relationship. These were not unusual arguments for a married couple, but they would take on a much darker significance in hindsight. Looking back, the timeline from their first meeting in 2019 to Robert's death in late 2020 feels alarmingly short. Only 3 months into their marriage, Robert was dead. And now, detectives are determined to uncover the truth behind what really happened.
I have some concerns, all right? One, you guys are saying that there was no, this is out of the blue. This is coming out of left field, right? Or
Yes.
coming out of right field.
Coming out of crazy.
And there was no indicators prior to this.
No.
Okay. You said you're a school teacher for about 7 years?
Yes.
Do they make you take like first aid and stuff like that as a teacher?
Yes.
CPR and first aid and stuff like that? Okay.
The detective can't ignore how unsettling it is that she made no attempt to help her husband, not even the most basic first aid. During her call with the dispatcher, when asked if she wanted to perform CPR, she flatly refused.
You first see his injuries and then don't do anything.
I didn't think they were that bad. I really don't. They didn't look deep.
Okay. But he's
No,
complaining that he's hurting
Right.
prior to bed.
I didn't see him when he went to bed. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
And okay, but
You know what I mean? I did not see him.
right, you didn't see the
his
injuries before bed,
shirt
but you
cut
hear
or
him.
anything.
Yeah, but you heard him complain. He said he was hurt, his chest hurt.
The detective grows increasingly uneasy with the way Heather describes Robert's injuries. She downplays the severity, insisting the cuts were merely superficial, and even suggests, without offering proof, that Robert may have been a self-harmer in the past. But the detective isn't convinced.
When he went to bed, how come you didn't just go to bed with him and lay down and like look at do your social media and Facebook there in the bed? How come you didn't go to bed with him?
Well, because I have ruined many pairs of glasses laying down on my phone or reading a book, and I just got these.
Okay.
I really wasn't ready to go to bed.
Okay.
How's that for an answer?
Okay.
To investigators, it's immediately apparent that the body had been tampered with, staged even, in an attempt to mislead them. Yet, despite combing through the scene, they still can't locate the murder weapon. In the kitchen, they discover several steak knives, but none bear a trace of blood. In the meantime, the detective begins pressing on Heather's conscience, carefully choosing his words, hoping to unsettle her just enough to provoke a mistake.
I don't think you're a bad person. Okay? I can tell in your eyes that you're
But you think I did?
a good person, but things are not adding up. I think you have more to tell me,
I
right?
don't have anything else to say. I have nothing left. I've told you all I have. I have nothing left, nothing.
Okay.
Heather sticks to her story from start to finish, showing no sign of wavering. Across the table, the detective leans in, pressing harder with each question. His instincts tell him she's holding something back.
We have a responsibility, not just to you and to your husband, to make sure that we do this correctly, but we have an obligation to his family too.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Honestly, I just want to know. I want to know what happened to him.
I do too.
Honestly, I think you know what
I
happened.
didn't do this. I did not do this. I did not see this happen. I did not do this. I'm not a bad person. I'm not.
The detective then changes his approach, steering the conversation in a new direction. He begins pressing for a clearer picture of Robert's condition that night, specifically the type of pain he was experiencing, how severe it was, and the exact events or circumstances that could have caused it.
You're saying, though, that he was complaining of pain as you're going to bed. So my concern, ma'am, obviously is this is not normal.
I know.
Even for us, this is a little strange. If that's what we're calling it. If we're calling it it's strange.
It's hard to believe that Robert would have any reason to take his own life. According to Heather, he was a cheerful, optimistic man who had only just married her 3 months earlier. In her eyes, their life together was nothing short of happy.
And things don't add up and I'll tell you why they're not adding up to me, okay? Because he was happy, according to you. You guys were happy. There were no signs of any unhappiness or any ideations or anything like that. He didn't make mention to anybody. From all accounts, everybody thought that he's pretty happy.
Yes.
I don't, we do a lot of these death investigations, and some of them are signs, and when somebody means a lot to somebody else, often they'll leave a note, okay?
It's strange that Robert left no note for his loved ones if he truly intended to take his own life. For someone in such a state, a final message is often the last connection they choose to make. Yet, in this case, there was nothing. Even more troubling are the wounds themselves. They were located high on his chest, and when investigators examined the angles at which the knife entered, the patterns didn't add up. The trajectory and positioning make it highly improbable, almost impossible, that these injuries were self-inflicted.
And then on top of that, you check in on him, and he's obviously has something wrong with him. He's not completely coherent. Of course, that could be chalked up to some of the drinking, but that could also be chalked up to he has a major injury. And nothing's done.
The detective continues pressing her with questions, hoping to catch a crack in her story, a moment where her answers don't quite line up. Heather, however, stays composed, though she admits one crucial mistake. She never called an ambulance. She says she regrets that decision, insisting she should have made the call, but at the time, the injuries appeared to her to be only superficial.
Even if these injuries, and we don't know the extent of these injuries, maybe these injuries are superficial, I don't know. But even if those injuries are superficial, at the very least, it's a cry for help if he did this to himself, right? And as a teacher, one of the things you're taught to look for is, like, even with students that are crying out for help and stuff like that, they should, you know what I mean?
I know.
That's a warning sign.
At this stage, crime scene technicians have yet to fully analyze the extent of Robert's injuries. The only confirmed detail is that he suffered 3 deep stab wounds to the upper chest, each one severe enough to be fatal. Finally, the lead detective decides to confront her directly, voicing what's been on his mind since the beginning. To him, it's obvious. The angle, depth, and placement of the wounds make it virtually impossible for them to have been self-inflicted.
Everything I've seen, from what I'm seeing, I don't think this is self-inflicted.
You think I did this?
I haven't come out and said that to you.
Okay.
But if he didn't do it to himself, somebody did.
The first interrogation is done. But instead of bringing clarity, it leaves investigators with even more questions than before. In just a few short hours, Heather's version of events has shifted multiple times, each change raising new doubts about her credibility. Meanwhile, every family member describes Robert as a calm, happy man, someone who had no reason to harm himself or provoke a violent confrontation. But then, a troubling detail emerges. One witness suggests that something may have happened inside the Hoefer home on the night before Robert's death. A neighbor reaches out to an officer, reporting what he claims was the sound of heated yelling coming from the house in the early morning hours.
So one of the officers said that you might have heard something last night. Can you tell me about what it was?
Well, I'm not too entirely sure. It was like, I think around 4 or 3 maybe, early in the morning at some time. I didn't look at the clock or anything, but I heard yelling.
Did it sound like a male's voice or a female's voice or both on the yelling?
Probably both.
Heather has suggested Robert stabbed himself, that it may have happened in the computer room, that she didn't notice until midnight, and then again, that it may have been closer to 3 in the morning. None of these times match the observations made by neighbors, one of whom reported hearing raised voices inside the Hoefer home between 3 and 4 a.m. From the moment officers entered the home, red flags appeared. The physical scene didn't match Heather's version of events. The body cam footage shows her standing in the house, answering questions, but often diverting them.
Could you hear him in there, or were you in there with him saying it hurts, it hurts?
I was in there. I didn't think it was that. I really didn't think it was that bad.
So you had been in bed with him when he was saying it hurts, it hurts?
No. I mean, I was kind of, but I wasn't going to bed yet.
Right, were you laying down in bed with him though?
No.
No.
No, this is just weird.
It's too weird. There's something not right, so.
If this had been a self-inflicted stabbing while standing or sitting elsewhere, investigators would expect a very different distribution of blood. More on the floor, less concentrated on the bedding. The autopsy results are not yet in full form during this first round of questioning, but investigators already have the preliminary findings from the Office of the Medical Investigator. Robert sustained 3 stab wounds to the chest. These weren't superficial injuries. The knife penetrated deep enough to collapse both lungs, cause significant internal bleeding in the chest cavity, and leave blood pooled in the pericardial sac surrounding his heart. There's also an abrasion and hemorrhaging on his forehead, suggesting an impact prior to or during the stabbing. In most suicide cases involving stabbing, 1 deep wound is typical. 3 separate forceful strikes raise immediate suspicion of homicide. Forensic techs have also collected samples from Heather's hands and clothing.
What the did you do? Did this happen whenever you were moving him on your shirt? You have some blood.
I'm sure it happened when I moved him.
Warn you ahead of time. They're gonna probably collect your shirt, take pictures of you and your hands. Just because
I didn't do anything.
It's okay, it's just procedure.
There is blood inside the palms of her hands. Not just surface smears, but spots where blood appears to have collected. The front of her shirt also has visible staining. When questioned, she explains the blood on her shirt came from trying to move Robert. But to investigators, the location and patterning of that blood may indicate she was in close proximity during the stabbing itself. However, it's possible that Heather got these blood signs when she was helping Robert clean the wound.
But she's seen him. She would have seen the wounds. She would have seen all the wounds.
So her story doesn't make sense that he stabbed himself back there.
She doesn't know where he stabbed himself, or if he even stabbed himself.
I don't think we know any more reasons that.
So that's what's going to be odd is like, she confirmed that they don't leave cutlery in any of the rooms. So at some point, somebody took a knife to that room and returned it.
Still, even with the body cam footage, the contradictory statements, the neighbor's account, and the preliminary autopsy findings, the detectives are careful. They do not yet have enough to make an arrest. The timeline remains muddy. There is no direct eyewitness, no recorded confession, and no murder weapon definitively tied to her through DNA or fingerprints. They cannot risk moving too early and jeopardizing the case. They also pressed her repeatedly during the interrogation, but nothing emerged that could justify an arrest.
I think you do know. Honestly, I think you know what
I
happened.
didn't do this. I did not do this. I did not see this happen. I did not do this. I'm not a bad person. I'm not.
It doesn't make sense.
He's 6'3".
For now, Heather leaves the station without handcuffs. She is not free from suspicion, far from it, but the investigators cannot yet make their move. They will wait for the forensic reports, for the digital analysis, for lab confirmation on the blood patterns. In their minds, the case is moving in one direction, but the law demands more than intuition and partial evidence. The case had gone quiet in the public eye after that initial 2020 interrogation. There had been no arrests, no indictments, no public updates. But behind the scenes, investigators were building up a case. And now, on April 1st, 2025, 4.5 years later, they believe they have enough. With a warrant in hand, officers approach Heather near the school where she teaches.
So I'm going to grab your stuff from you, okay? You have an arrest.
Put your hands behind your back, Heather.
What do I have a warrant for?
For homicide. You have the right to remain silent. Any statements made by you may be used against you in court. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, will be appointed to represent you for your charge. You have the right to consult an attorney.
Can I call my mom real quick?
Yeah, hold on.
Heather is visibly confused. At first, she doesn't even know what she's being arrested for, but when officers tell her, she goes quiet for a few seconds. For most of the past 4 years, she has been teaching 8- and 9-year-olds, while still being a main suspect in the ongoing case. In the months after Robert's death in November 2020, police made it clear the case remained open. But without enough evidence to arrest her, there was no legal basis to fire her.
Ma'am, you guys have animals in the house?
You guys really had to arrest me right in front of the kids I work with. Well, come on.
No.
Guys.
We waited until the school got out, ma'am.
No, but I still have kids in the cafeteria.
Heather is escorted to the patrol car, where she's set to be transported to the station for formal questioning. But before they arrive, she turns to the officer with a request.
Please don't let them plaster my face on Facebook, please. You know what I mean?
No, unfortunately, I know exactly what you mean. And I wish they would stop doing that. I really do.
Mine is because of my profession, you know? That's why I couldn't believe they grabbed me right here in front of my job.
Once they arrive at the station, the casual conversations from earlier are replaced by the formal weight of an official interrogation. The detective begins by advising her of her rights. Then, he makes it clear. She is no longer just someone answering questions. She is now formally accused of murdering her husband, Robert Hoefer.
So, Ms. Fernandez, you've been advised of your rights.
Correct.
Do you know why you're here?
Just no.
Okay. So, the last time you and I talked was back in 2020. This has to do with your husband,
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Okay. So, our investigation, from what we have, we know what happened, okay? And this is your opportunity to tell us the truth about what happened, okay? Because what you told me last time, none of the evidence that we processed matches with what you're telling us.
The detective leans in, giving her one last chance to tell the truth. They've known for years that the story she gave them 4 years ago doesn't line up with the crime scene or the evidence uncovered in the house. But now, faced with the opportunity to set the record straight, she stays silent.
So I know what happened to Robert. I just don't know why it happened to him. This is your time to tell me why.
I'm gonna need an attorney.
Okay.
The detective quietly steps out of the interrogation room, leaving Heather completely alone. A common tactic to see if an unguarded reaction might slip through. But she doesn't flinch. She sits there in complete silence, her expression unreadable. Minutes pass until the door finally opens again. This time, it's not the detective who returns, but an officer assigned to escort her to the jail.
I need to use my phone to call my mom because she won't.
They can let you do all that.
Okay, you know what I mean? You know how older people, it's like, I don't know the number, I'm not going to answer.
Yeah.
But if I call.
And it's not like you get one phone call. It's not like.
I know, but I've got to. I want to cry.
I'm not going to try to make you cry.
I want to cry. I want to scream. I want to throw a fit. I'm scared.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Now, more than 4 years after Robert died, investigators know that Robert Hoefer died from 3 deep stab wounds to the chest. There was also the blunt force injury to his forehead, consistent with being struck or falling against a hard surface before or during the stabbing. Heather never mentioned such an injury in her statements. The recovered text messages, some deleted, others simply overlooked in 2020, showed marital tension in the days leading up to his death, disputes over money, and references to past relationships. The tampering with evidence charge is built on what they believe Heather did immediately after Robert's death, moving or cleaning items in the bedroom to make the scene appear consistent with suicide. Crime scene photographs from 2020 and witness accounts suggest that certain objects were out of place or staged. Within 48 hours of her arrest, Heather is arraigned in San Juan County, New Mexico. She pleads not guilty to second-degree murder and evidence tampering. While the court hasn't announced a firm date, legal analysts expect the trial could begin in late 2025 or early 2026, depending on the complexity of the evidence and the availability of expert witnesses, especially forensic pathologists and crime scene analysts. If convicted of second-degree murder, Heather faces up to 15 years in prison. The evidence tampering charge carries an additional potential 18 months. Together, the maximum sentence could reach 16.5 years behind bars.